Okay, how long you think it'll take?
Have a seat and we'll get to you as soon as we can.
Thanks. Excuse me. Sorry.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, sweetie. Do you have Mom's iPad again?
She said I could.
Oh, she did she?
Shh, she's in the bathroom.
Okay.
Hey, Daddy, when are you going to be home?
Very soon. Daddy has a flat tire.
Aren't tires supposed to be fat?
No, silly. Not fat. Flat. Daddy has
Look at my drawing. I drew all the animals from Noah's Ark, Daddy, but I pretended like it was our family going on the ark. Daddy, me, Mommy, and Madison. Can you see it, Daddy?
Yes, you did a very good job. Hey, sweetie, why is Daddy on a boat with a referee?
That's a zebra, Daddy.
Oh, yes, now I see.
And you're standing on the top of the boat because you're praying to God to keep us safe, like you do at home. Hey, Daddy, when you get home, you and I are going to play tea, and I'm going to be the princess.
Yes, you are. Hey, what's Daddy going to be?
You're going to be the hero, Daddy. You're always my hero.
Well,
Mom is coming. I've got to go. Love you, Daddy. Bye.
I love you too.
Here we go. Yours will be the only name that matters to me, the only one whose favor I seek, the only name that matters to me. Yours will be the friendship and affection I need to feel my Father smiling on me, the only name that matters to me. And yours is the name that saved me, mercy and grace, the power that forgave me, and your love is all I've ever needed. When I wake up in the land of glory, with the saints I will tell my story. There will be one name that I proclaim when I wake up. Oh, still as you call me, deeper still as you call me, deeper still into love, love, love. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are, it's who you are, it's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am, it's who I am, it's who I am. Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, O sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who stray. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are, come as you are. Fall in his arms. Come as you are. There's joy for the morning. Oh, sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can heal. Earth has no sorrow heaven can heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your hurt, lay down your heart. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. measure any of his works. Who can teach the one who knows all things? Who can fathom all his wondrous deeds? Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King, nothing can compare. Come, let us adore him. Who has felt the nails upon his hands, bearing all the guilt of sinful man? God eternal, humble to the grave, Jesus Savior, risen now to reign. Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King, nothing can compare. Come, let us adore him. You will reign forever. You will reign forever. You will reign forever. You will reign forever. Oh God, you will reign forever. Yes, you will reign forever. Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King, nothing can compare. Come, let us adore. Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King, nothing can compare. Come, let us adore him.
We are going to dive in. I just want to recap. Last week, we are in this series about the art of neighboring, and we looked at the story where the religious leader, the leader in the law, comes to Jesus, and Jesus asks him, what do you think is the most important part of the law? And the man answers, well, he says, to love God and to love my neighbor. Jesus says, yep, do that and you're going to be fine. And then the man says, yeah, but who exactly is my neighbor? And Jesus tells a story that's been retold millions of times, mostly in church, but also beyond church. The story of the Good Samaritan. And at the end of the story, instead of Jesus saying, and this is how you're supposed to do things, or this is the person that's your neighbor, or that's the person that's your neighbor, he asks a question. He says, who most acted like a neighbor? And the answer is the one who helped, the one who took pity. We were here earlier in the story. And so we live in a global community. You can be on your phone with someone. I got a message this morning from Amsterdam. Did you guys see that? So it's not near Amsterdam. They're in Ada, which no one's ever heard of. Even if you live in Netherlands, you might not know Ada. So from Ada, I got a note this morning. Hey, Faraz, how are you? That's from far away and really, really early in the morning. I think she sent it at like 4 a.m. our time, which is great. And so we can have the whole world be our neighborhood. But here's the thing. We probably need to spend a little bit of time with our actual neighbors. I mean, if you're going to love your neighbor, it's a good place to start with the people who live near you, 3, 4, 5 houses away. And so we had this little thing, and a lot of you were able to fill in a little sheet. I looked around, and it's a really good sign that I only found one of these. And I didn't find any filled in ones sitting on chairs. That's actually really awesome. That means if you were here last week, you probably took this home, and this is my sheet. And I'll tell you a little story. So one of those arrows, the one at the very top, that house, there was a few blanks. Now, there was one blank because I couldn't remember her name. There was another blank because I hadn't met the mom who lives. It's a mom and a dad and then their daughter. They're all grown. That's who lives in that house. And then the dog. What's the dog's name? Brandy the Springer. I was going to say Springer, but that's what it is. We're walking home from church. I don't know, what time does church end? 11:30? And then put stuff away. Wes is the last guy out. It's just about 12, right, by the time we get out of here. So about 12 o'clock last week, we go out the front door. Gabby's with her grandparents, so it's just Jules and I. We're ambling. Okay, I'm ambling. Jules actually knows how to walk, and I barely move. I just kind of go with the breeze. And the first house, the people there are sitting out in their garage. First time I've seen them out there since we moved. It's been a year. And we've tried or hoped to meet the lady who lives in the house, but she just has health issues and she doesn't come out all that often. I've already seen a whole bunch of people, like 80 of you guys. That's a lot of people for me, okay? And now we're walking out just talking about neighboring, and now there's neighbors out. And there's a little tiny part of me going, dear Lord, why? Why? It's okay. All right. And kind of take a deep breath and walked up, and they said the words that you only hear so often. You're never sure if they're intended or if they're just people being nice. He said, do you want to come sit for a while? A little tiny part of me was like, what? Convicted? No, actually, I do want. Actually, they're on my sheet. I'm not trying to play bingo with this. That's not what this is, right? But I did want to get to know her. I did want to meet her. And so it was just him and his wife, and daughter wasn't around for a while, and the dog being all sniffy and everything else. We sat down. Daughter heard talking. She came out. We got home at like 1:30, and it was great. And there was something about, it was want. It wasn't my natural want, you know, when you're like, but it was sort of like I was low on a vitamin, that kind of thing. And I'm starting to feel like connecting with my neighbors is sort of like when you haven't been outside enough and you need vitamin D. This is like vitamin N, right? You just need a little bit of time. If I'm reading about loving my neighbors, bumping into them, you don't have to raise your hand. But if you were here last week, I'm hoping there's little stuff just starting to kind of percolate up and you're thinking a little bit more about your neighbors. I talked to somebody this week and they were like, they're dead, they're dead, they're dead. And we go to their funeral next week. I was like, oh, that's not good, right? So don't move to that neighborhood. Let people know. But there's a lot of change that happens in neighborhoods. And sometimes it is people getting older and either moving into homes or passing away. There's a lot of turnover all around us. And maybe you've got a sheet of paper. I was talking to somebody else and they said, well, we know everybody on our street except the house at the end, and it's been 4 different families in the last 4 years, and we just have decided to quit on that because, and when you think about it, you guys know everybody, and the only people that you don't know are the people that don't know anybody. You guys could actually come off as cool if you met those people because they don't know any better yet, right? Just throwing that out there. There's good opportunities, and I'm hoping it gets under your skin. So this week, we are going a little bit further because when you hear, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, love your neighbor as yourself, it sounds serious. But the intention of these commands are not what God wants from you, but what God wants for you. He wants you to be in loving relationship with him and in loving relationship with the people around you. How would your life be worse if you were in loving relationship with the people around you and with God? And how would their life be worse? Like if they do something wrong, you have to forgive them. It's in the Bible. Their life would be better if you were in loving relationship with God and loving relationship with them. And I think yours would be too, because these are not meant to be burdens. So we're going to shift gears a little bit. This part 2, it has a lot to do with time. There's 2 big barriers to making new relationships. One of those barriers is fear, and I'm going to talk about that next week. But the first barrier is, do you have more time for more people? And I know a few of you might be a little bit more on the quiet side, lonely side. You're retired. You don't have tons and tons and tons of stuff filling up. But for the most people, you don't have tons and tons of room for more people. back when they started inventing things, the first thing that they started, inventing things to go with electricity, and when more homes were getting electrified, they thought, how can we sell products? Because it used to just be sell products to men. Because men work and men have things, so they're going to buy the farm and they're going to buy the tools, and then ingredients and things are grown by the woman. But no, when you get into sort of more modern age, look at the modern age that this is. 1919, Hot Point comes out with a series of things, and you probably can't read it, but right here it says, save food. What does it say? Save food values. I don't know what that means. Save fuel. Save time. Time saver is a huge thing to sell people on. And the more stuff you have, look at the wondrous modern age of computers. I think there's a VIC-20 in there somewhere, and the Apple computer on the end. They're just so cute. I remember we had an IBM XT. My dad brought it home. He bought a brand new Honda Civic, and he bought an IBM XT. They were the same price and almost the same weight, right? About $4,000, and the XT, the monitor weighed 80 pounds, and then there was the box underneath it, and it had 16K of RAM. It's fantastic. Only computer, Adam understands, there's only a few computer people that would really grab that. But this is something that has changed our lives. Uh-oh, I'm playing with this thing. I think I broke it. Nope. Right? Everybody, this is exactly the kind of cell phone you were dreaming of as a young person. But just for context, early 80s, it's $800. At $3 an hour, you can just hang out and do math, because that's what minimum wage was back in those days. It would take a lot. My mom had a job in Toronto, and she got a car phone for our 1986 Cutlass Supreme wagon, which was white on the exterior, brown velour interior, and my sister put a JVC CD deck, big time, and my mom put a cordless or a corded cell phone, a car phone. Remember those car phones? It still had the thing where you had to really yank it. If you wanted to get it to the back seat, you'd have to really pull. Just weird. But think about all the things in your life that have been sold to you or that you've decided to do as time savers. What bank does that go into? How much time have you saved? And if you've saved a lot of time, when you connect those two pieces at the end and you end up with a cell phone that's also a computer, that's the thing that you can play Candy Crush on for about 8 hours at a time without noticing. And it's not really a time saver. They can become time stealers. And it's amazing how many times you can be like, wow, it really saved me a lot. That time that Jules called and I was driving by the store and she told me what to get and I stopped in, it saved us the 40 minutes of getting back into the car later and coming back into town. Time saver. And then there's every other hour, an hour, an hour, an hour in between that it kind of just steals. And so when it comes to time, we don't always have a clear perspective on what is and isn't a time saver. I asked a few people this week because there is a story here about time and how to value your time and everything else. But this is where we ended last week. These are the very last verses of the story of the Good Samaritan. And then Jesus says, which of these do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands right? The one who had mercy on him. Go and do likewise. And I asked a few people, what are the next words? The story's over. It goes on to a new story. When I ask you that, it's because I didn't know, and I want to find out if you guys are better equipped than I am. I have no idea. Luke chapter 10, it's not one of those that just kind of rings in my ear. I asked really smart people. I asked other people, Larry. I asked people, you know what the next story is? And it actually has a lot to do with time and valuing things appropriately. This is how it begins. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. Now, of course, Martha Heisey's not here today because she even has a sister, Mary, and they kind of match up, and so I could have had a whole thing, but that's okay. This is the story of Jesus in the home of Mary and Martha. And so I wanted you to think for a minute, what would you be doing if you thought that Jesus was coming to your house? By the way, I put into AI, rustic table with feast, and after 15 ones that didn't work, this one worked. I think one of those chairs is kind of attached as a double chair, and there's 5 different kinds of bread, which nobody in the world makes 5 different kinds of white bread. But everything else looks like that meat is cooked perfectly by AI. So I don't know. Isn't it weird though that AI is coming up with all these things? Don't worry, I use it a lot and it freaks me out even when I use it. Here's the thing. What would you do? What would you cook for Jesus? Like the whole inside, I want to do like a pulled pork and ribs, and I'm like, Jewish-ish. But I could say, look at how free we are because of you, Jesus. All this. What would you cook? What would you clean? My wife would unpack the things that are still in boxes, clean them, put them back in the box, refold the corners perfectly, maybe wrap it, put it on the shelf. There would be things painted that had never been painted before. There were things that would be unpainted that used to be painted. It would be an ordeal. I mean, you guys are coming over in 2 weeks to just stop by and say hi and have a little bit of barbecue. She's already freaking out about that. Pray for her. She'll be okay. But what would you do if you thought Jesus was coming over? I think the story is a good one. I think we get a lot out of it. So let's just read it together. As Jesus and his disciples were on the way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. There's no value judgment here. Mary's the one who sits at Jesus' feet, and Martha is doing this. Right? She's distracted. She's got 100 things going on. My mom used to move like in circles. You'd just see her standing in one place and be like, okay, what you thinking about? Because nothing's happening. Like, how can we help? And she would just get stuck and just kind of be smiling, and then she'd get distracted, and it was interesting. At Julene's house, there was much more structure, and most of it came from Julene being like, what are we doing and when? When are we doing this, and when does it have to go in the oven? Why? And so it was tense, but my in-laws are moving in, so that's going to work out perfectly. What would happen in your home? This is just personality stuff, right? Martha's distracted, Mary's at Jesus' feet. That's how this story begins, with just personalities. We all have different personalities. I know where I'd rather be. I would be in by the smoker for 48 hours before Jesus came over, so that I didn't have to do any of that stuff, and I could just hang out with him. Martha's distracted, though. She's missing out. You get that? Distracted. It doesn't say that she was overly focused. It says she was kind of like she couldn't hone in on anything, and Mary wouldn't take her eyes off of Jesus. Now, let's be honest. If you're trying to do a program, you want Martha, not Mary. If you're trying to get something done, you want Martha, not Mary. Someone who will sit there and say, oh, what are we doing next? Oh, that's going to be so great. While everybody else is like, up you get. Let's get this done. Let's do this. I've heard a few people say Martha gets kind of a raw deal, because usually people take this story and they actually don't quite understand why Jesus gets a little bit frustrated. They think it's because of their personalities, but it's not. And if you know the story really well, maybe you'll know where it goes next. But this was a surprise to me, even though I've read it many times. So Martha is the she, came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. And that's the end of the story. That's it. It's only 6 or 7 lines long, and it comes right after the story of the Good Samaritan, when Jesus asks the question back, who was the person who acted like a neighbor? The answer is the one who took care, the one who took pity on the person. And then Jesus goes into it, and there's 2 people that love him, and one is distracted, and the other is focused. One is all about getting stuff done, trying to make everything perfect for Jesus. The other one just wants to hang out with Jesus. It starts at personality, but it shifts. Do you see what Martha does? Jesus, you cannot be okay with this. That's a weird way right after you call him Lord. Lord means you're in control. But this can't be the way you want it to be. I'm doing all the work. She's sitting around. This is the third nap she's had today. Oh, I'm letting something out from our family. Okay, this is, you all have the people in your life. If you're the doer, you know who aren't the doer. You know who the person is that you're like, okay, you can mash the potatoes. I'm going to have to do that too when it's time. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And you know who you are. Wednesday evenings, if you show up a little bit early and ask how you can help, you're going to see the Martha side of Dan. I get all Martha in the 2, 3, 4 hours before the Wednesday dinner comes out, because I want it all to come out at the right time. I want it all to come out as well as it can so that everybody else can just be peaceful. And ask Jules what it's like to deal with Martha Dan. I am no fun. I am generally pretty chill. But on Wednesday night, when this is coming out of the oven, and then I just put the garlic bread in and it's on broil, and when it's on broil, you've only got like 4 minutes, and not 3 minutes and not 5 minutes, it's 4 minutes, and I've got to do this, and someone else is getting that, and Martha. And in those Martha moments, sometimes I say to Jules, don't you know what needs to be done? I feel that for the rest of the week. But we all have Martha moments. So we need to be just aware that no one's a perfect Mary, no one's a perfect Martha, and this is not about Martha's good and Mary's bad, or Mary's good and Martha's bad. It's about what do you do with your priorities, and how do you prioritize loving your neighbor when there's all this stuff to get done. And how about this? If you're one of those people that's constantly doing stuff, is there even time for a loving relationship with your neighbor? I know a few people, and every story I hear is about when they did something with their neighbor, or somebody did something. Every story has something that they're doing or somewhere that they're going. And there's never a story of, we were just visiting. The story is always, we were out jogging, and on the way to jogging, I had my list in case I passed these 3 stores. And you're like, oh boy, there's some intense people out there. There's something about Martha and Mary that isn't bad in itself, but Martha kind of goes after Jesus. And if you're one of those people, have you ever gone after someone because they're not keeping up with you? Not because they're wrong, but because you're moving at a certain pace and they're not keeping up? And then Martha says to her Lord, this is what you should do, Jesus. You should tell her to help me. We got to be really careful with the times in our life that we tell Jesus what he ought to be doing. It's just not good for our relationship, because love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. I think there's a little point here where Martha is ready to call Jesus Lord, and yet she's struggling to love him as Lord. Because if he's okay with this, then something might be wrong with him. And she's struggling to love her sister. And isn't it good that the Bible has these reality checks? Because this is reality. Jules and I can love each other as long as we're not cooking together. And then we like each other, and we get through it, and we love each other again afterwards. And we're very thankful for each other. But in the moment, it doesn't feel quite as lovey as maybe it should. I think this passage really gives a lot of insight into how family and maybe how neighbor works. And let me just ask you, kind of do a little mental exercise. Think about some different stories and moments of Jesus' life. Just close your eyes for a minute. Maybe you can't visualize it. Maybe you don't read tons and tons and tons of Bible. But you maybe grew up with some Sunday school stories. Maybe you've been reading a little bit yourself, and just think about some of the stories of Jesus. You think about people that he healed, about dialogues that he had, about being out in a boat somewhere or feeding a crowd. And now think about, if you know the story, how many of those stories happened just by chance. Just because Jesus was out and about and he met the person. Just because he was on his way from one place to another and something happened. Or he got where he was going, and then this dialogue, or people show up, or somebody breaks open the roof and starts lowering somebody down, or some teachers of the law are outside and they step in. There's one thing about Jesus. He's very interruptible. He never seems to be in a hurry. Oh, you can open your eyes. You'll all be asleep in 4 minutes. Okay. There's something really sweet. And actually, how about this? You cannot both hurry and love. You can't love in a hurry. In fact, love is sort of the opposite. John Ortberg, that was a nice picture to leave up. Would have made people less hungry. Okay, John Ortberg said in the life that he wrote, In the Life That You've Always Wanted, he states that hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. He coins the phrase hurry sickness, and then he goes on to say that the reason hurrying is so dangerous is because love and hurry are not at all compatible, because love always takes time, and time is the one thing that hurried people don't have. I'm not going to say who. I hope it doesn't slip out later, but we have a family member that when we visit them, they want to know what to put into the Excel spreadsheet because they've got time frames. And there's an hour for this, and it takes 20 minutes to go there, and there's 3 hours for that. And if you're going to visit this person, how long are you going to talk? We're Italian. This is the least Italian person I know, and they're part of my family. It's just very strange. I don't know how long I'm going to talk with you guys. That's why I hide part of the morning, because I might end up forgetting to come up here. Hurry and love are somehow incompatible. There's something strange about 1-minute devotions. It's like how to get the most into that 1 minute in Jesus' name. It's not bad. 1-minute devotions are great for 1-minute time slots in your life. But there's something about love the Lord your God, love your neighbor as yourself, that is going to demand that you either take time you have or make time you don't. And if Jesus says from these two priorities, if these two priorities are at the top, everything else is going to fall in line. In Matthew, I think, it's where he says that all of the law and prophets hang on these two commands, because if you love God and if you love your neighbor, then you don't have to worry about who's fighting who. You don't have to worry about whether or not you're honoring God or dishonoring God. If you love him, you're not going to dishonor him. If you love your neighbors, you're not going to dishonor them. Jesus is basically saying, I can make your life so much easier. Just do these two things. Because they're so easy, right? Loving God all the time and loving everybody. Just thanks, Jesus. But there's something really good about the fact that he keeps saying it. He just keeps saying it. This is the command I give you, to love one another. This is my commandment. This is my command. I think he says it 7 times. You ever seen this illustration? I was supposed to go down to the beach yesterday and go pick all that stuff up. I didn't. So I found a slide. Glass jar, put the stuff in. Honestly, if you try to do this, and I've seen people do it wrong, where they put the sand in first and went, oh, shoot. If you put the little stuff in first, it just packs a layer, and then you put the pebbles on top, and now you're ready for construction, right? Basically, you've just made it ready to put a house on top. Problem is, there's no room for these big, stupid rocks, and half a dozen of them won't fit into the jar. It's kind of important that you get it done right. But if you put the rocks in first, and then the pebbles, and then the sand, you can kind of get everything to settle in. And then some snappy people even pour in water. This is kind of what it looks like. You end up, if you put them in the right order, meaning the large rocks first, then the pebbles, you can just kind of shake them down and they make their way in between, and then the sand will make its way and fill in all the little cracks and crevices. The rocks are the foundations. What are the foundational things in your life? What are the things that if they're not there, nothing else works? Now, please don't say work, because work is built on a different foundation. Because you work so that you can do things with the money that you get from work. Because I promise, if you guys all won the lottery and tithed, just throwing that out there, please. If you all won the lottery and tithed, we would have so much to give to people. Many of you would not consider going back to exactly the job you have and doing it exactly the way you do it. And so work isn't a stone, but maybe work ethic is. As a dad, there's been a few times in my life where I was like, I think it's time for a change. And then the rest of my brain says, when I've got something else lined up and when everything makes sense and when we've paid off those 2 bills and when God calls, and you just layer in all these things, the rock is I've got a family to take care of. Hopefully the rock isn't, I've got a mortgage. Hopefully the rock isn't, I'm in debt. Hopefully the rock isn't, I want to make a name for myself. I need to do well at work so I can get the next promotion, so I can get the next thing. Those aren't rocks, those are pebbles. Rocks are, I want to be a man who is reliable, people can count on. I want to be someone who is dependable. I want my family to feel like they're taken care of. And not because I've got a gun in the nightstand, but because I won't take them places that are not good for them. And if we go somewhere, we'll go there together, and I'll be the first to take the hit. Because I don't have a gun in the nightstand, because I don't believe in that. Rocks are the foundations, pebbles are the functions. So you want to be a provider, you need to get a job, but the job is still a pebble, it never becomes a rock. You want to be a great parent? Good, you're going to need to change some diapers for a while. Those are pebbles. Even the bad ones. And then finally there's sand. Sand is the stuff that changes day by day, right? You've ever gone to a beach before? First time we ever stayed in Cuba, we went down right to the beach. The first day we got there, we went down, it was amazing. Went out the next morning, and the beach was gone. And it had dropped like a foot of sand, had been sucked out into the ocean. I thought, where did it go? But every day when the tide comes in, it would take a bunch of that out, and then it would push it back when it comes back in. Sand is always shifting. Sand castles are intentionally always changing. So sand in your life is all the stuff that changes. Stuff that you can't depend on. Here's the thing. If that stuff that's constantly changing becomes the focus, then it just becomes this packed layer, and you end up not having room to put the other stuff in its proper order. The rocks have to be the rocks, or else there's no room if you start putting the sand in first, if you start making that your priority. I don't know where working out fits. Fortunately, I just didn't have enough room for that pebble. But you look at stuff like this and you start saying, what do you want out of your life? And maybe being unhealthy is hindering that. I hate thinking that way. I love thinking about what food I would serve to Jesus. I don't like thinking about would he ask me how I'm feeling, and am I taking care of this temple? It's not supposed to be comfortable. We're supposed to be talking about loving our neighbors and loving God, and there's something really beautiful in the midst of knowing how uncomfortable it is, because for you to pray this prayer, you have to accept that we're probably not naturally wise. This is Psalm 90. Teach us to number our days that we may gain or get a heart of wisdom. This is written by Moses when he's about 100 years old. After 40 years of being in the home, right? You've heard the story of him in a basket. That story goes on for 40 years until it's a different Pharaoh, it's a different time, and he sees an Egyptian harming an Israelite, and he feels this pang of, it's not fair that my people are persecuted. I'm not exactly an Egyptian, I'm not exactly an Israelite, and he lashes out and he kills somebody, and then the Israelites know that he did it, and he's like, well, finally, my people are going to take me in, and they say, oh, we're just going to tell on you. And he runs into the wilderness, literally. He runs away. And he hides and he goes to the next country, and for 40 years he lives in the next country and raises a family, which are supposed to be those really good years, 40 to 80 for him. That's middle age back in those days. And he lives and then God bumps into him when he's 80 years old, not for the first time, but for a really important time, and calls him to lead the people. And Moses, a man of 80, he confronts Pharaoh, he leads the people, they go through the sea, there's the pillar of fire, the pillar of cloud, and then the people revolt. Even though God is so close, they're rebellious. And in the middle of that rebellion, he's told you're going to wander in the desert, and then he's told you're never getting out of the desert because he becomes impatient. And then he writes this psalm. At the age of 100 and something. That's a good prayer. That's a great prayer. Because if you're wise, and then you hear something like Jesus saying there's only 2 commands that really, really matter, loving God and loving your neighbor, then you might say, okay, God, help me love my neighbor. Show me how to do that. Show me how to number my days with you, number my days with my family, number my days with my neighbors, because you've told me that that's how life goes well. I think it's beautiful. If you're going to put a jar together, make sure you get the big rocks in first. I think these are slightly undersized. But let me just put it this way. If these are the first 2 rocks in your jar, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And I promise, if you try to put them in the jar, there's going to be some things that need to be pulled out. So you might have a little bit of work to do, mentally, emotionally. What are the things that I actually probably need to pull out of the jar to make sure these 2 get in first? AI is great. Okay. I'm going to ask the worship team to come back up. The end of last week, we had a prayer, and the prayer was, God, give me the desire to grow or build relationships with my neighbors. Keep praying that one. And if you weren't here last week, you need to pray that one because it's an important prayer. Because it's kind of funny, when you're praying for something and then God starts to provide it, you actually notice it. When you pray for something, God starts to provide it, you notice it. Because I think there's constantly God nudging us, but it's not until you start thinking about that thing that he's nudging you towards that you start seeing it everywhere. If you're going to buy a Subaru, pretty soon all the cars on the road are Subarus. Because once you're looking for them, you just see them everywhere. When you're praying a prayer for your neighbors, you are going to see neighbors doing things, neighbors lifting things and be like, I guess I have to go and help them. But it's not that. It's this, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to being so nice. I'm used to just kind of keeping to my own space, and I'm finding that this is something that I want. I think this next prayer is great. Give me the courage and desire to make time to take the next step with those who live closest to me. Give me the courage and desire. Next week, we're going to focus in on the courage side even more. But the courage isn't about how weird your neighbors are, although they might be. The courage is for you when you don't have something to allow other things in your life to be pushed to the side so you make space for obedience. Because obedience is how we become Jesus' disciples, and then we'll know the truth, and the truth will set us free. That's Jesus' promise in John 8. If you obey my commands, then you're truly my disciples, then you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Do you believe that if you love God and you love your neighbor, you'll experience more freedom? That Jesus is right when he tells us to do that. And so, can you pray this prayer? God, give me some courage to take that step and desire to make time to go that next step with your neighbors. Let's sing. Oh, okay.
Father, let your kingdom come. Father, let your will be done on earth as in heaven, right here in my heart. Father, let your kingdom come. Father, let your will be done on earth as in heaven, right here in my heart. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us as we forgive the ones who sinned against us. Forgive them and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Let your kingdom come. Father, let your kingdom come. Father, let your will be done on earth as in heaven, right here in my heart. Father, let your kingdom come. Father, let your will be done on earth as in heaven, right here in my heart. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us as we forgive the ones who sin against us. Forgive them and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Let your kingdom come. It's yours, all yours, all yours. The kingdom, the power, the glory are yours. It's yours, all yours, forever and ever. The kingdom is yours. It's yours, all yours, all yours. The kingdom, the power, the glory. hear